Hey film fans, welcome to Cine Pro.
Kind of made it into a motel. Have that. We have some here. Oregano. Perfect.
Your ultimate hub for all movie recaps. From heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters, The Farm Movie. The film begins with a man named Alec, and we see him with his girlfriend Nora going on a trip. On the way, they stop at a supermarket, but they find it closed. Nora tells Alec, "I'm gonna look for a bathroom behind the supermarket." She goes to the back and sees things scattered on the ground, but she ignores them and proceeds. Suddenly, we see a human skull, but Nora doesn't notice it and continues on her way. Later, she encounters a woman who questions her relationship with Alec, implying it's not serious. Nora is surprised and tells the woman to mind her own business. The woman responds that since Nora is standing there, it does concern her. The conversation becomes tense, and Nora decides to leave. They arrive at a restaurant and order food. A strange man in the restaurant keeps staring at them. Nora finishes her meal and gets up to leave, but the strange man grabs her and warns her that she isn't safe there, urging her to leave immediately. Frightened, Nora rushes back to Alec, and they leave the restaurant to continue their trip. They stop at a gas station, where Alec asks the attendant about a hotel. The attendant gives them odd looks and directs them to wooden cabins down the road. Nora expresses discomfort with the attendant's behavior, suggesting they continue driving instead of staying at the cabins. However, Alec insists he's too tired to drive and needs to rest. When they reach the cabins, they see several parked cars, which reassures them that the place isn't deserted. Inside, the hotel is old and run down. Nora feels uneasy and wants to leave, but Alec convinces her to stay. They meet the hotel owner, who seems terrified upon seeing them. He asks how long they've been there, and they reply they just arrived to book a room for the night. The owner takes them to a room, tries to make small talk, and then leaves them alone. The room has an upper bunk bed, and unbeknownst to them, the bed is stained with blood. They turn off the lights and go to sleep. During the night, a figure wearing a rabbit mask emerges from under their bed. The next morning, Nora wakes up to find herself locked in a cage. She screams, but a masked man appears and hits the cage to silence her. When he leaves, Nora finds a rock on the ground and tries to break the lock. Suddenly, two masked figures appear, throw a substance on her, and she loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she's tied up in a room. A masked man injects her with a large syringe and leaves. Later, she's placed back in a cage, which is dragged away. She sees that everyone around her is wearing masks. She screams for help, but no one responds. She notices a human corpse hanging nearby. Meanwhile, Alec wakes up in an animal barn, locked in a cage. He sees other young men in similar cages. Masked figures enter, choose one of the captives, and hit him on the head, rendering him unconscious. They drag him outside. Alec screams, but a masked figure hits him on the head, knocking him out. Alec and the others are taken to a strange factory. The factory processes human body parts for trade. The masked figures dispose of the waste, which consists of human remains. Later, we see the hotel and restaurant owners discussing food supplies. They mention needing more meat for important guests. It becomes clear that the meat served at the restaurant earlier was human flesh. In another part of the facility, women are connected to machines extracting milk from them. The women are treated like cattle, and injections are administered to prevent them from having children. One of the women gives birth, but the baby is immediately killed in front of her. The grieving mother is later killed as well. Nora, still trapped, sees a young woman hooked up to the milk extracting machine. The woman explains that they are being used like cows to produce milk. She reveals that once their milk production decreases, they are killed and their meat is cooked. With these two, Nora heard the voice of a girl among the captives, whose name was Ashley. She told Nora, "They took me 2 weeks ago, and I tried to escape, but I failed." Nora replied, promising her, "I will figure out a way for us to escape." Suddenly, the masked men arrived and took the girl who was tied with wires, killing her and disposing of her because of her low milk production. Nora heard the girl's screams as she died, and she broke down and started crying. Suddenly, the door opened, and she saw Alec, who had managed to escape and came to take her with him to flee. Indeed, he took her, and they ran as fast as they could. On the way, they saw a church ahead of them and hid inside. At that moment, they heard someone entering the church. Nora and Alec immediately hid behind the door. One of the masked men entered the church and began to pray. Nora and Alec took advantage of his distraction and slipped out of the church. However, the masked man noticed them and rang the church bell. Nora and Alec ran as fast as they could, but due to Alec's injuries and the beatings he had endured, he couldn't run fast and fell into an animal trap. His leg got caught in the trap. Nora tried to help him but failed. Suddenly, the masked men arrived, and Nora started crying. She told Alec, "I have to leave you, but I promise I'll come back with help." She immediately fled while the farmers came and lifted a large stone, killing Alec with it. Now we turn to Nora. She entered the barn on the farm and saw a young man locked in a cage. She asked him for help, saying, "How can I get out of here?" The young man told her, "The bus that transports goods has its key in the main house. Use it to escape." Nora quickly headed there. On her way, she saw an open car with one of the masked men nearby. Nora grabbed a hammer, approached the masked man, and struck him on the head, knocking him unconscious. Nora decided to remove his mask to understand why they wore them, but suddenly, she saw the masked men coming toward her. She left the masked man and immediately got into the car and fled. She was overjoyed to have escaped them. However, before she could leave the farm, the car ran out of fuel. Nora was forced to get out of the car and return to the farm. She searched for the main house the young man had mentioned. She reached the kitchen but heard the masked men coming after her. She immediately entered the basement and tried to escape through the window. The masked men reached her and attempted to catch her, but Nora fought them off and managed to climb out of the window. She returned to the barn where she had been held captive and went to get Ashley. Together, they headed to the main house, took the keys, and made their way to the bus. They were overjoyed and quickly got on the bus. Nora started the bus, and it roared to life. She turned to check on Ashley behind her, but to her shock, she found the bus filled with masked men. After this incident, we see the masked men gathered around a dining table. On the table, we see Nora and Ashley, served as the main dish for the masked leaders. And with this, the movie ends. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video. Goodbye.